What's up, YouTube? The 2025 NFL Draft is officially over. All 7 rounds over and done with. So I want to come on here and grade every single team, all of their draft picks. If I can get to it, I will go over some undrafted players towards the end of the video, depending on how long this video ends up being. I will go over some of my undrafted free agents and who, I like or who I would like to see signed if they haven't been signed yet. But it's a little early right now, but I know a few people that have been signed already. So I'll go over that towards the end of the video. But without further ado, let's get straight into this video. The first team up, we got my Arizona Cardinals. Actually, this is not me being biased, but I think that the Arizona Cardinals had one of the best drafts. Really needed to address defense, specifically defensive line, and they really did that, as well with secondary. With pick 16, I wanted them to select Will Johnson, actually. So the fact that they were able to get him at 47, I thought was incredible value. Like I said, top 10 player on my big board. So to get him in the second round, pick 47, I think is insane. And Walter Nolen, we obviously know what he brings to the table. Has a little bit of character issues that sort of rubbed me, I wouldn't say the wrong way, but I didn't really want to see him picked here, I'll be honest. But now seeing that we got Will Johnson, it makes me like him. It makes me like the pick a little bit more. I like him definitely as a player, but definitely, off the field needs to clean some of the stuff up. And then Jordan Burch from Oregon, I really like that pick, defensive lineman. Overall, I like this pick. Cody Simon from Ohio State, national champion. And then Denzel Burke. Earlier in mock draft season, this guy was projected to go late first to early second. So to get a guy like that in the 5th round, I thought is, definitely incredible value for sure. And then Hayden Connor to beef up that offensive line. And then Keaton Crawford, I'll be honest, I never watched Keaton Crawford. I didn't watch too much Nevada football. But overall, I really like this pick. Overall, I like these picks. I thought, like I said, had probably one of the best drafts. I would put the Arizona Cardinals at like a top 5 out of every single team. I would put them top 5 in terms of, their draft picks. If I were to give them a grade, I would give them an A. Just because, they address some needs, like I said, secondary and defensive line, and they got some incredible value picks like Will Johnson, Denzel Burke, Cody Simon, I thought is incredible value as well. So I like the draft. I really do like the draft, so I give the Arizona Cardinals an A. Next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons. If you guys watched my YouTube short video, I said they won the first, or they're a top 3, the 3rd winner in my first round. So for their first round, I thought they were like top 3 in terms of who they drafted. James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker, day one, I thought was, incredible. I think Jalen Walker is the second best defensive player in this draft after Abdul Carter. Like I said, I have Travis Hunter listed as an athlete, so I don't really have him listed as defense or offense. I kind of have him listed. He's in his separate category. Anyways, Jalen Walker to get, in my opinion, the second best defensive player in this draft. With pick 15, I thought was incredible. They really needed some help off the edge. So to get James Pierce Jr., who was a 22nd rated player on my big board, I thought was incredible. I really did. And then Xavier Watts, I really like him as well. Safety out of Notre Dame. I thought, also incredible value getting him in the 3rd round, 96 pick. He was projected to go, I want to say early second, if I'm correct. And then Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma, and then Jack Nelson, offensive lineman out of Wisconsin. Overall, I like the Atlanta Falcons, specifically day 1 and more day 2. I like the Xavier Watts pick. But I really like, the way that they went about their draft this year. They really addressed some need, especially on defense. Weren't too many offensive picks, only one with that offensive tackle pick in the 7th round. So I would give them a B+. Like I said, day 1 I thought they aced, but didn't really have too many draft picks, so you can't really give them like an A or anything. But I like what the Atlanta Falcons did. I'll give them a B+. Next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens with 11 picks. So Malachi Starks, I like him a lot. Mike Green on the field, I like him a lot, but he has some very serious allegations against him right now. So I can't really put this as an amazing pick just because he has some very serious allegations that he needs to get situated. But Emory Jones, I like the pick a lot. I think he has a ton of upside out of LSU. Teddy Buchanan from Cal, Carson Vincent, Alabama A&M. They selected a kicker. LaJohntay Wester, wide receiver from Colorado. I know that guy. Not a bad pick overall. I mean, they had a lot of like day 3 picks, so not too familiar with a ton of these guys. I'll be honest. I know a few of these guys. I know Garrett Dellinger from LSU. But overall, I think, the Baltimore Ravens, obviously we know they're like a team we would consider contenders. So overall, I think they really had a pretty good draft. On the field, both of these guys, amazing picks. Malachi Starks and then Mike Green would have been a first-round pick, like I said, if he didn't have the off-the-field stuff. And Emory Jones I like a lot. So their first 3 picks I like for on the field. But just because of this pick right here, I kind of can't give it the rating I sort of want to. So I'm going to give the Baltimore Ravens a B. I'll give him a B. If he didn't have the off-the-field stuff, though, this would be one of the better drafts, in my opinion. So yeah, I give him a B. Next up, we got the Buffalo Bills. I thought they had an amazing draft. These first 4 picks right here, I don't think you guys realize, or maybe you do, these are 4 legitimate starters on their defense. Like Maxwell Hairston, TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, and Deion Walker. I like all of these picks. They really want to, defense wins championships. And the Buffalo Bills seem to have their offense situated. Who knows what that James Cook contract situation is going to be. But overall, I really like these, picks. Jordan Hancock, corner from Ohio State, not a bad pick as well. Jackson Hawes, tight end from Georgia Tech. I'm familiar with him as well. Caden Prather, I know who he is as well. But yeah, he was a wide receiver too, I believe, after Ty Felton in Maryland. So I would give the Buffalo Bills, in terms of what they needed and value, I'll give them a B+. I like the pick. I don't think they had any, crazy like home run picks. Like, I like Maxwell Hairston, but with Will Johnson on the board, I probably would have taken Will Johnson, even though we all know about the injury. But Maxwell Hairston's definitely a great player. TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, Deion Walker, these are all amazing players. I give them a B+. So haven't had too many, bad drafts so far. But next up, we got the Carolina Panthers. Tetairoa McMillan, I thought, was an amazing pick. I'm so glad they selected him. Nick Scorton was a projected first-rounder for most of the draft season. I like him a lot. Princely Umanmielen, or I can't say his name. I've watched him before, obviously. I watched a lot of Ole Miss. But he has character concerns as well. So that's what sort of caused him to fall in the draft. And Trevor Etienne, I think he's a little overrated, I'll be honest. Camp Jackson, Mitchell Evans, Jimmy Horn Jr., I think is pretty good value, honestly, in the 6th round. Colorado wide receiver. Not too sure what he's going to be in the NFL, but watching him in college, I thought he was a fine player for sure. I would give the Carolina Panthers a B-. The reason being because I don't like this pick too much right here, just because of the off-the-field stuff. And Trevor Etienne, he's like a big name that sort of people want to like overrate just because of his brother. But honestly, he's not that good. I'm going to be honest. He was not a top 10 running back in this draft to me. I had guys like Taj Brooks who went way later than he did, as a higher rated than him. I'm just not a big fan of Trevor Etienne, honestly. I'll give the Carolina Panthers a B- because I really like these first 2 picks right here. And then towards the end, in the middle, I'm like, eh. But I definitely think this guy right here is a good player. I think he's absolutely a good player. But when you have character issues, I think, you got to take them serious for sure. Next up, we got the Chicago Bears. They made, sort of a surprising pick in Colston Loveland, taking him over Tyler Warren. I think Colston Loveland is an amazing player. I really do. I think he's a better receiving threat than Tyler Warren. Luther Burden was, I think, I was surprised that he was actually a 2nd-round pick. I'm also not the highest on Luther Burden, I'll be honest. But to get him in the 2nd round, I think is definitely a great value. Like, he was the best player on the board at that point. Did he go after Nick Emenwari? If he didn't, then Nick Emenwari was the top player on the board I think Nick Emenwari was off the board. He went to the Seahawks before Luther Burden. So yeah, Luther Burden was the best player on the board at this point. Ozzie Trapilo, I know him, offensive lineman from Boston College. Shamar Turner, I thought this pick was actually great. And sort of their later picks, not too familiar with some of these guys, I'll be honest. But man, I'll be honest, I don't like this draft that much. I think, in terms of value, I like Colston Loveland as a player, but in terms of value, I think you could have traded back. I definitely think you could have traded back some spots, gained some extra draft capital. And I thought, I really thought they were going to go defense with this pick. They're sort of like overloading the offense, which I think, they have a scary offense, honestly. With Luther Burden, DJ Moore is out there, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, now Colston Loveland, obviously Caleb Williams, an amazing quarterback. But I really thought this team was going to go defense. Like, they had a chance to select one of the top defensive players on the board, maybe a Michael Williams or a Jalen Walker, and then they go with the tight end and Colston Loveland. That's fine, but I think you need to trade back if you're sitting with the 10th pick and you want to select a tight end. I would have probably selected Tyler Warren over Colston Loveland, but I can understand choosing Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren, honestly. I'll give the Chicago Bears a C. I don't think this was a great, draft. Like, compared to last year, I don't think it was, that good of a draft. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals here. Shamar Stewart, I think, is an amazing upside pick for sure. I like Shamar Stewart. A lot of people seem to not like him because, he's sort of this traits guy, and a lot of people obviously don't like traits guy. I can understand that. And then they go Demetrius Knight Jr. next. Dylan Fairchild, I actually really like this pick. Barrett Carter is so underrated, linebacker from Clemson. And then this pick right here is probably going to boost him some ratings for me. Taj Brooks, to get him in the 6th round, this is to me, this is a top 8 running back in the draft, and they got this guy. He probably went, 15th out of all running backs. I thought this is incredible value for a team that I don't really like, the Cincinnati Bengals running back room at the moment. I think it's like Khalil Herbert and Zach Moss. Obviously losing Joe Mixon a couple years ago. Getting Taj Brooks, I think he has a legitimate shot to win the starting spot here. And if you can get a starting player in the 6th round, I think that's obvious. I keep saying incredible value, but this is an incredible value pick. I'm going to give the Cincinnati Bengals a C+. I don't think it was, a home run draft. I definitely like some of these picks here. But they didn't really have like a crazy splash pick, I would say. And I'm sort of giving a lot of teams high ratings here. I don't think this is one of the worst draft picks or one of the worst draft teams here. But I definitely don't think it's one of the best for sure. But I'll give him a C+. I think, the Taj Brooks pick I like a lot. Dylan Fairchild as well. And then Barrett Carter. Shamar Stewart, I actually kind of like the pick here. But like I said, nothing like that you're going to write home about other than Taj Brooks, in my opinion. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns. They have the weirdest draft ever, and I think you guys know why. Dylan Gabriel going ahead of Shedeur Sanders, I think he has a legitimate shot to be the QB1 on this team. And you basically sort of told your QB1 that we think this guy right here is better than you. So if I'm Shedeur Sanders, I feel a certain way. I'm more motivated than ever to prove, the Cleveland Browns and all the other teams that pass on them wrong. But just overall, I sort of like the players they drafted. But just where they went in the draft, I thought was super weird. Mason Graham, I thought is an amazing pick. Carson Schwarzenegger, I think is a good pick as well. I think you maybe could have traded back a little bit. And still selected this guy. But then Quinshon Judkins, I don't think he should have went over TreVeyon Henderson, but I definitely like the player. Harold Fannin Jr., I think, is a great pick. Dylan Gabriel, if he's going to be your backup, I think you could have waited with this. Like, this is just weird. Like, these guys right here should have flipped, and then it would make sense. But overall, if I'm just grading who they drafted, I think this is a great draft. Like, honestly, I like Dylan Sampson a lot. I like both of these running backs. Nick Chubb's probably not going to get re-signed, so this is going to be RB1 and RB2 right here. I like both of these guys a lot. And Harold Fannin Jr., I think he's an amazing talent. Mason Graham, we know, best defensive lineman in the class. But man, it's a weird. If I'm grading just who they drafted, I will give them an A-. But based off where they went, Actually, no. I'll just give him. I'll stick with the A minus because that's not fair. I gotta just grade who they actually drafted, not where they went. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's who's on your team and who you drafted. So I'll give the Cleveland Browns an A minus, but just a weird way to approach things for sure with them. Next up, we got the Dallas Cowboys. They took a lot of shit here for selecting Tyler Booker here with the 12th pick. I thought it was a bit of a reach. But then you go out with 2 splashes with your next pick. Donovan Ezraku, I thought should have been a first rounder. I really thought he was going to be a first rounder. To get him with pick 44, I thought was very surprising, honestly. And then you go and get Savon Rebel, who is projected to be a first rounder before the torn ACL. So to get him with pick 3, or round 3, sorry, pick 76. And then you go out and get Jaden Blue, running back from Texas. And then, I really like their draft. I really actually like their draft. At first, when they selected Tyler Booker, I was like, okay, this is weird. And then they go out with, like I said, 2 splashes, in my opinion. 3, actually. So I'm going to give the Dallas Cowboys a B. I'm going to give them a B. Some of their later picks, I really thought they should have went receiver. Like, they didn't go receiver at all in this draft. So I don't know what they're going to do there. As far as getting CeeDee Lamb some help on the outside, other than him, obviously. But I'm going to give them a B, but I like these 2 picks right here. Three picks right here. I thought, I was surprised with the Dallas Cowboys. Like, they went on a 3 streak of just, amazing draft picks in terms of value. I like both of them, so I'll give them a B for sure. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos. Selecting Jahdae Barrett here. I was a little surprised because I think, they're already sort of set on defense. So I thought they were going to make an offensive pick here. Matthew Golden was still on the board. I believe Emeka Egbuka was still on the board, or did he go right before? I can't remember what pick the Bucks had. They may have had 19 and stole him right before. I could be wrong about that. But Jahdae Barrett here, I think I like the player. I definitely like the player. But in terms of need, I don't sort of love it, but I get it. I definitely get it. Jahdae Barron and Pat Surtain is an amazing corner duo. Nobody's scoring more than 10 points on the Denver Broncos next year. And then we got RJ Harvey. I thought is, I like him. I definitely like him, but I can't remember who was still on the board. And I was sort of scratching my head like, I wouldn't have taken. And that's Caleb Johnson. Now I remember. Caleb Johnson is my RB2 in this draft. Yes, I have him over Amarion Hampton. I have him over Trevion Henderson. I have him over Quinshon Judkins. After Ashton Jeanty, Caleb Johnson, who went to the Steelers, by the way, spoiler. I thought the Denver Broncos were for sure going to take him. I was screaming, take him, take him, take him. And I think he ended up going in like the 3rd round or something. So Steelers got a steal. But RJ Harvey, I like the player, but I don't think he's better than Caleb Johnson. Then you get Pat Bryant, Savion Jones, Q Robinson, and then Caleb Lohner, tight end from Utah, I like a lot. And then you select a punter. I don't know who the hell this is. I'll give the Denver Broncos a B minus. I'll give them a B minus. I like the Barron pick and I like the Harvey pick, but in terms of who is still on the board, I can't give you too high of a rating. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions here. Address some needs. Tyreek Williams is an absolute stud. And then Tate Ratledge, amazing value here. One of the best interior offensive linemen in the class for sure. Isaac, I believe it's pronounced Tisla. Isaac Tisla, Miles Frazier. This is the first Egyptian player out of Boise State to ever be selected and play in the NFL. I believe I read that correctly. Donovan Lovett, this guy can't catch for shit. This is a terrible pick. He should have went undrafted. 2 Georgia guys. Dan Jackson is actually a good player. But Dominic Lovett, if you watch Carson Beck at all this year and you watch Georgia's offense this year, this guy cannot catch for shit. The Detroit Lions, man, I like the first 3 picks, and then it sort of goes down a little bit. I'll give them a C+. I know Detroit Lions fans are probably going to not like this. But But in terms of the way other teams drafted, that's why I sort of have to give them a lower rating. But I like the first 2 picks for sure. Isaac Teasl's not bad either. But this pick, obviously it's a 7th round pick. Like, I don't know why I'm focusing too much on this, but this guy should have went undrafted. He's not good at football. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers. Matthew Golden, I thought was an amazing pick. Anthony Belton, I thought was a bit of a reach. I definitely think the Packers should have went defensive back at some point in this draft, and they didn't until round 7. Like, they went Savion Williams. I think, could be a sort of a steal in the draft going in round 3. I thought it would have been a round 4 pick probably. And then Baron Soro, I like a lot actually, edge from Texas. But other than, Golden, Savion, I don't love the pick. I think he has potential for sure. And then Baron Soro, I like. So other than those 2 to 3, I like. The rest of the draft, I do not like. They should have went DB at some point in the draft, like I said. I'm going to give the Green Bay Packers a C-. This was not a good draft from the Green Bay Packers. I sort of never liked the way the Green Bay Packers draft. I think they sort of just... I don't know, man. I don't know what goes into their process of drafting, but I don't seem to like it every year. Next up, we got the Houston Texans pairing up Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. I thought was a bit of a surprise, but a very, very cool situation. Ariante Irsay, amazing draft pick. Jalen Smith, Woody Marks. I'm a USC fan. I love these guys to death right here. Amazing players, definitely amazing players. I like Woody Marks. If only he had a little bit better of offensive line, I think he would have been a higher draft pick than the 6th round. Graham Mertz had no business being drafted. And, I like the way they traded back a lot. So they got definitely some draft capital from that. In terms of who they drafted, I like a lot of the way they drafted, I'll be honest. I'm not going to focus too much on this because it's the 6th round and I sort of keep focusing on these later picks. But I'll give the Houston Texans a B+. I think this is a good draft. I definitely think this is a good draft for sure. Next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts. Tyler Warren. I was saying it. The way Shedeur Sanders was dropping in the draft, the Indianapolis Colts should have snagged him. I'll be honest. You got a quarterback room of Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Shedeur Sanders goes in there and he's better than both of them right away. Maybe not Daniel Jones right away. Daniel Jones is decent. Shedeur Sanders, not sure what he's going to be like day one. But I think he has potential to be better than Daniel Jones from day one. We'll see. But I definitely would have snagged him if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, for sure. But these first 2 picks I like a lot. Tyler Warren, incredible value getting him with the 14th pick. I know the Colts were happy when they seen Tyler Warren drop to 14. I don't think they believed he was going to be there at 14. And then you got JT Tuimoloau, edge rusher from Ohio State. I like a lot. Riley Leonard, he's not going to ever be your starter. And then you got DJ Giddens, not a bad pick as well. Jalen Travis, Justin Wally, corner from Minnesota. I'll give the Indianapolis Colts a... Other than these first 2 picks, I don't love. Justin Wally was a bit of a reach at this point. I don't know if Darian Porter was still on the board. I know Darian Porter went in the 3rd round to the Raiders. Not sure if Wally went before him. But the Indianapolis Colts, I'll give them a C+. Next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously trading up for Travis Hunter. The biggest probably shocker other than Shedeur Sanders in the draft. Amazing pick. You got a generational talent, so that obviously is going to put your floor at like a C. Wyatt Millum, I thought there was some talk, at some point in him being a first rounder. Caleb Ransall, I like a lot from Tulane. Bajal Tutin was a top 5 running back on my board, and they got him in the 4th round. Amazing value. Jack Kaiser from Notre Dame, and then I'm a USC fan, obviously, like I said. I'm not gonna say anything. But LaQuint Allen, running back from Syracuse, good to see him get drafted, but not sure if he makes the final roster. I'll be honest, but I'm rooting for him. But I'll give the Jacksonville Jaguars just because I love Travis Hunter. I love these first five picks, honestly. And then I'm rooting for LaQuint Allen. I'll give the Jacksonville Jaguars an A-, dude. Like, honestly. I know they lost some assets getting Travis Hunter, but you can make the argument that it's worth it getting a generational talent in Travis Hunter. But then Bajal Tootin, I think he could be the starter, honestly. Travis Etienne, I'm not that high on. Bajal Tootin, he's coming for that starting spot. Next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Simmons was an amazing value pick here at 32. Losing Joe Thuney, obviously, to the Chicago Bears, I believe, right? And then Omar Norman Lott. A lot of people had this guy potentially being picked here at 32. So I've seen a lot of mock drafts with Omar Norman Lott possibly going with that 32nd pick. Jalen Royals, I like this pick a lot. Jeffrey Bassa is an amazing player. I watched a lot of Oregon this year. I think I would give the Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't have a high pick in this draft, obviously. And then they signed an undrafted free agent, Mac Delana, out of Fresno State. Remember the name here. I think he can be an absolute steal, especially going up, pairing him up with Patrick Mahomes. That's definitely a loaded wide receiver room. You got Rashee Rice over there, Xavier Worthy. But he could fight for that third, maybe fourth spot out there in Kansas City. I'm really rooting for Mac Delano. Obviously, he's not on here because he was undrafted, but I would give the Kansas City Chiefs I'll give him a C plus. I'll give him a C plus. With what they did, with what they had, I mean, I like some of these picks for sure. Next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders here. Ashton Jeanty, Jack Beck, Darian Porter, Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, Dante Thornton. I like all 6 of these picks. But then when you get here, you're like, what the fuck? Like, they're taking some FCS quarterbacks. I'll be honest, I don't watch FCS football. You can find some steals with FCS, so I'm not going to pretend like I actually have watched Cam Miller. But this guy, I believe they said he's listed as like a quarterback / receiver. Cam Miller, I've actually seen. He's actually a pretty good player. But, dude, Shedeur Sanders was on the board here. Like, oh man, it just would have made too much sense for the Raiders to select Shedeur Sanders. Like, with one of these picks right here, you're telling me, dude, I understand, like, maybe these guys could be day one starters on your team, but Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round or 4th round, like, you're not getting a player as good as him in those rounds. Like, you're getting a first, maybe possibly you could argue 2nd round talent in the 4th round. Like, come on. Geno Smith is probably, I think he's only on a 2-year deal with the Raiders. He's up there in age as well, too. I think he's like 34. I thought the Raiders should have took a shot on Shedeur Sanders, but overall, I actually like their draft. I think these are all home runs right here. Actually, Dante Thornton, let me highlight that as well. But, I mean, with 11 picks on the board, I think they would get an A+ for me if they just took Shedeur Sanders with one of these picks. But I still like their draft. I really, really do like their draft. Spytech and Pete Carroll, that's a new, improved, front office out there in Vegas. I think the Las Vegas Raiders are headed in the right direction. I think they're going to be very, very good, really soon. I'll give the Las Vegas Raiders an A-. Next up, we got the LA Chargers. I didn't like the Omarion Hampton pick. I'm going to be honest. I think he was my RB4. Trey Harris, I love this pick. I really do. But overall, I don't love the Chargers draft. I'll be honest. Jamari Caldwell, Kyle Kennard, Keandre Lambert-Smith, I've seen from Auburn. Branson Taylor, Oronde Gadsden, RJ Mickens, and I don't know how to say this guy's name here. But I don't like the Chargers draft. I'll be honest. I think there was a lot of reaches. I think if you just flop this, and I do like Trey Harris a lot, but I think if you just took like Golden, did Golden go? Golden went 23 to the Packers. Golden was still on the board and Luther Burden was still on the board. So I think if you could have just took one of those instead of Hampton here, and then you could have got a running back in Caleb Johnson or Judkins. No, Judkins went before this. Fuck. You could have got. I would much rather. Basically, what I'm saying is I would much rather have Golden and Burden, or Golden or Burden and Caleb Johnson. I would just prefer that duo. But I think these are good players. Like, I definitely think Amarion Hampton's a good player, and I think Trey Harris, I like him a lot, actually. I really am high on Trey Harris. But I'm going to give the LA Chargers a D+. I didn't like their draft at all. Didn't select the tight end here. You did, but I'm not, I'll be honest, like, Gunnar Helm was on the board at one point. Like, Mason Taylor I probably would have taken with, at one point, I probably would have traded up for Mason Taylor, honestly. Going to the Jets in the 3rd round, I believe. No, he went in the 2nd round. I would have probably traded up for Mason Taylor, honestly. This is a team that really needs a tight end. Will Dissly obviously had some crucial drops in that wild card game versus the Houston Texans. But I'll give the LA Chargers a D+. I didn't like their draft. Next up, we got the LA Rams. Terrence Ferguson, Josiah Stewart. I like these first 2 picks. Chris Paul Jr., I think, is a steal. Jarquez Hunter. I forgot they got Jarquez Hunter. This guy can be... Oh, no, they got Kyren Williams. I was about to say something crazy. This guy is going to stay on the team. Let's just say that for sure. I think he can win that RB2 job, obviously, with Kyren Williams being there. I don't think he'll be the starter. But Jarquez Hunter can ball, man. And then Josiah Stewart... I remember seeing mock drafts, like this was early in mock draft season, of him being in the 1st round. But obviously that Michigan team defense was loaded, so he kind of took a seat back to, Will Johnson. Obviously he had the injury, but Mason Graham and then Kenneth Grant as well. So he's sort of that 4th guy on the defense. But the Terrence Ferguson pick I thought was amazing. For the Rams not having a 1st rounder, well, they did and they traded back. But for not making the selection, I would say, in the 1st round, I thought they had a great pick. Terrence Ferguson, they really need a tight end with Tyler Higbee having some injury history. And obviously, I want to say he's getting up there in age. I thought this is a pretty good draft. I'll give him a C. I'll give the LA Rams a C in terms of what they had to work with. I thought it was a solid draft. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins, man. I like the way the Miami Dolphins made picks here. They really addressed some needs here. Kenneth Grant, Jonas Savaiana from Arizona, Jordan Phillips, Jason Marshall from Florida. Obviously, with Jalen Ramsey requesting to trade, this is much needed DB help. I thought they were going to go Will Johnson here, but addressing the offensive line, especially when you got the injury history list, as long as Tua does, I think it's definitely fine to address offensive line. And then Ollie Gordon, talent-wise, Ollie Gordon is a 2nd or 3rd round pick. He didn't have a good offensive line, but make sure you go look at his stats the year before last year, and that'll tell you all you need to know. Ollie Gordon's a stud. He has some off-the-field issues. I think he has a couple DUIs. I know he has at least one. So definitely off-the-field stuff, I think he needs to figure it out. But with the off-the-field stuff and him having a down year last year with Oklahoma State really caused him his draft stock to go down. But he was the RB1 coming into this year. Like, people were high on this guy. I don't know if you guys remember. Quinn Ewers, being able to select him in the 7th round, I don't think Quinn Ewers is a great quarterback, but to get him in the 7th round, I think is actually good value. To be your backup quarterback, especially with Tua having, like I said, always being injured. The Miami Dolphins get an A for me, man. Like, they really do. I love the way they drafted. They really address some needs, and I like a lot of these players they got. So the only reason they don't get an A+ for me is because they didn't take a corner in some of these earlier rounds. But Jason Marshall Jr. is actually a good pick in this 5th round here from Florida, so I'll give him an A. Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings. Donovan Jackson, I thought was a bit of a reach with the 24th pick. But the Minnesota Vikings, man, they're going to have the best offensive line next year. That offensive line is looking insane. They're doing everything they can to make sure JJ McCarthy is, ready to go. So Minnesota Vikings are contenders to me, man. As long as JJ McCarthy balls out, which I believe he could because he has a stacked team around him, just like at Michigan. But the Minnesota Vikings are contenders to me. Ty Felton is another amazing pick in the third round. Tyron Ingram Dawkins, Kobe King, and then Gavin Bartholomew from Pittsburgh. The Minnesota Vikings, I don't love their draft. I like the Ty Felton pick. I'll give him a C-. I'll give the Minnesota Vikings a C-. Only had 4 picks in the draft, so can't really give him too, great of a draft. Next up, we got the New England Patriots. Will Campbell, I thought was the right pick at 4. Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, Jared Wilson, Craig Woodson, Joshua Farmer. I like the way they drafted. I really like the way the New England Patriots drafted here. Kyle Williams is a damn stud. This is a steal of a pick. Travion Henderson, my RB3 in this draft. Jared Wilson as well. I thought, getting him, I wanted my Arizona Cardinals to get him. I like Jared Wilson and I like Tate Ratledge. I like both of those Georgia offensive linemen. And then Joshua Farmer, I think, I was surprised he went this late. Really surprised he went this late. I think he should have went in like the 3rd round. He should have been a day 2 pick. To get him in day 3, I thought it was great value. But the Patriots making 10 picks, I'm gonna give the New England Patriots an A-. I like the way they drafted. Next up, we got the New Orleans Saints, man. I did not like their draft at all. I like the Devin Neal pick, and I like the Quincy Riley pick. That's about it. That's really about it. Didn't like the Tyler Shough pick. I understand it, but I don't. With Shedeur Sanders being on the board, man, Tyler Shough is not better than Shedeur Sanders. I've watched the tape. I think he has some good, qualities. Good stuff going for him for sure. I like the Kelvin Banks pick. I don't even know why I didn't talk about that 1st round pick. I like the pick, but if you could have got Kelvin Banks and then Shedeur Sanders here, I just don't like the Tyler Shough pick. I think, man, just with Shedeur Sanders on the board, I probably would have taken Milroe over him as well. But man, I see what scouts, see with Tyler Shough. I really do. But just the age factor and where the Saints are, I just think Shedeur Sanders would have made more sense, or even a Jalen Milroe. Man, I'm going to give the New Orleans Saints a D. They're getting a D. I don't like their draft pick at all. Jonas Sinker, I think this is a good pick here. And Quincy Riley and Devin Neal. I like those 3 picks, but that's about it. And Kelvin Banks I like, actually. So 4 picks I like from them, but man, they fucked up. They fucked up a lot. Next up, we got the New York Giants. Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart, Darius Alexander, Cam Skattebo, Marcus Mbo, Thomas Fidone, and then Corey Black. These are great picks. The New York Giants cooked. They're getting an A+ for me. I like their draft. Jackson Dart is what is his name? Brian Dable. I don't know how I forgot his name. Jackson Dart seems to be Brian Dable's guy. The Giants like him moving forward as their quarterback. Taking him over Shedeur Sanders, I'm not going to question it. Definitely, makes more sense than taking Tyler Shough over him and Dillon Gabriel. But the New York Giants get an A+ for me. I think they had an amazing draft. Cam Skattebo as well, I like a lot. Darius Alexander, Marcus Mbo as a damn steal out of Purdue. But yeah, next up we got the New York Jets. I wanted them to select Tyler Warren here, but Armand Membu makes sense especially when you add in that they got Mason Taylor late in the draft, and then Azir Thomas was an absolute steal. But then you get here and you're like, what the fuck are they doing? These guys are shitbirds. If you don't know what a shitbird is, look it up. That's what these 2 guys here are. Malachi Moore was obviously in headlines throughout the college football season for... Just look it up. Look up Malachi Moore, and then Arian Smith is fucking a shitbird. But yeah, these guys right here didn't like these picks, so I don't even fucking know, dude. These first 3 picks are A's to me, and then you get here and you're like, why did you waste a 4th and 5th rounder on these 2 guys right here? completely, just stupid picks in my opinion. These guys are terrible off the field. But yeah, I'll give the New York Jets a B just because of that right there. Then you get the Philadelphia Eagles, Jahad Campbell. Can't believe he was there. And then Andrew Makuba, sorry. I think he has potential to be the best safety in this draft. He's listed as 3 right now after Malachi Starks and Nick Emmanwori. But this guy could very well, especially in that Vic Fangio defense, I think could be a great pick. And then Kyle McCord I like a lot. And then Cam Williams. I thought this was a great pick to go and get a guy like this with high upside. If he could put it all together, he could definitely be a great offensive tackle. I'm going to give the Philadelphia Eagles... I like these picks. I really do. I'm going to give the Philadelphia Eagles a B+. Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, I think they cooked. I really do. I know I keep saying this, but I would have selected Shedeur Sanders at some point here. But these first 2 picks, home runs. Caleb Johnson, I already mentioned, was my RB2 after Ashton Jeanty. Derek Harbin, man, a fucking beast. Jack Sawyer, I think he's a good player. As far as what he's going to be in the NFL, I don't think he'll be what he was in college. Yaya Black, I think, is a good player. Will Howard, I think there's talent there, but I don't know. I like the pick. Carson Bruner and then Dante Kent. But just like, it made sort of like the Raiders. This Steelers actually made more sense than the Raiders. You got to select Shedeur Sanders if he's still on the board in the 4th round. Like, what are we doing? But anyways, the Steelers, actually, I like their draft. I'm going to give them an A-, although I would have picked Shedeur Sanders at some point. But they sort of made up for it with the Will Howard pick. Obviously, Will Howard's not as good as Shedeur Sanders. And I know I'm sort of mentioning Shedeur Sanders a lot in this video. But it's just the truth. A lot of teams had, a chance to select this guy, and I thought it would have been an amazing pick. But Will Howard, I like. Next up, we got the San Francisco 49ers. Michael Williams, Alfred Collins. I thought these were great picks. And then you sort of get to the end, and you're like, I don't know. Like, Jordan James, I thought is a good pick. Curtis Rourke can be a solid, serviceable backup, but I wasn't a big fan of the 49ers pick. I like Michael Williams and Alfred Collins a lot. This is definitely, it looks like Robert Saleh's, building something on the defense. Like, look at these first 5 picks. All defense. This is Robert Saleh right here. I'll give him a C+, though. Just because of the way they started off the draft. I didn't like the way they ended it, though. Next up, we got the Seattle Seahawks. I think they had one of the best drafts here. This is an A. This is an A to me. Gray Zabel, Nick Emmanwori has potential to be the best safety in this class. And then you got Elijah Arroyo. And then Jalen Morrow, I like this pick a lot. Being able to get him in the 3rd round with the 92nd pick. Yeah. I like the way the Seattle Seahawks picked. Like, Jalen Morrow has the most potential out of any quarterback in this draft class to me. Maybe after Cam Ward. And Elijah Arroyo, obviously Cam Ward's tight end for Miami. Nick Emmanwori, like, these were amazing picks. I love the way the Seattle Seahawks picked. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They signed undrafted free agent Shiloh Sanders. A lot of you, I don't think he's going to be anything in the NFL, I'll be honest. But just had to throw that out there because I remember seeing it. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had an amazing draft. Emeka Egbuka and Benjamin Morrison, great picks. And then you get Jacob Parrish, David Walker, and Elijah Roberts. I give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a A-. I like the way they picked for sure. And they got, a crazy wide receiver room out there. And they also selected Tez Johnson. I don't know why Tez Johnson's not on here. I almost forgot about that. They selected Tez Johnson. Next up, we got the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward, Alafoy Aladiho. I didn't like that pick. I thought it was a reach. Then you get Kevin Winston Jr. I like that pick. And then you get Chamir Dike, I think is how you say it. Gunnar Helm, I like that pick a lot. Alec Ayamanor, and then they also signed undrafted free agent Xavier Restrepo. So the Titans, I don't like this pick, so I don't like these 2 picks at all, honestly. But then you get Alec Aminor and Gunnar Helm, and then Kevin Winston Jr., and then obviously signing Restrepo as an undrafted free agent. I'm gonna give the Titans a B minus. I'll give them a B minus because I like sort of how they draft. Obviously, I like the Cam Ward pick, and then later in the draft they really made up for that middle part of the draft. The Washington Commanders, Josh Connerly, Trey Amos, like those picks a lot, and then Jalen Lane. I'll give the Commanders. I'll give him a C minus. I think I like the Trey Amos pick. Josh Connerly, not sure if I would have taken him over Josh Simmons, but Josh Simmons' injury, history, I can understand why they did it. But that, ends the video for here. Fuck, this was a long video. Let me know who you guys think won the draft, and let me know what you guys think about my grades on all these teams, and let me know your team down below and all that good stuff, and what you grade, how your team did. Are you excited for the season next year? I know I'm excited for my Arizona Cardinals to get going. That's going to do it for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.